The windmill stands tall against the evening sky, its blades slicing through the warm breeze. A symbol of independence, self-reliance. I built it last year to power my home, a decision that ruffled more than a few feathers in this quiet, mostly white suburban community. I knew they'd grumble. I just didn't expect war. I moved here 5 years ago, drawn to the wide-open lots and promise of peaceful living. As one of the few black homeowners, I kept my head down, focused on my work as an engineer, and made sure my property was immaculate. But no matter how much I maintained my lawn or kept to myself, it was never enough. The HOA board, led by Karen Thompson, a woman whose entire personality revolved around enforcing rules she made up, made that clear. First, it was small things. A letter about the color of my mailbox. A friendly reminder that my grass was half an inch too high. But when I installed my windmill, that's when Karen really lost it. "This isn't some rural farm, Marcus," she said, cornering me outside my driveway one afternoon, arms folded like she owned the place. "You can't just put up some contraption and ruin our neighborhood's aesthetic. It's completely legal," I told her, holding my ground. "I checked the zoning laws before I installed it. The HOA has no say in renewable energy structures." Her face twitched. That fake smile faltered. She didn't like being challenged, especially by someone she expected to fall in line. "We'll see about that," she snapped before storming off. That was 3 months ago. Since then, she's been relentless. Complaints about excessive noise, even though the windmill is whisper quiet. Letters about property values, as if my clean, modern home was dragging this place down. And the stairs, constant, judgmental, watching my every move. Then, last week, things escalated. My backyard sprinklers, state-of-the-art, automatic, stopped working overnight. I checked the system, but nothing was wrong. Just no water. Then I found them. Deep, deliberate slashes in the rubber tubing, as if someone had taken a knife to them. A mistake, maybe? Some kind of animal? I replaced the damaged sections, but 2 nights later, it happened again. That's when I started keeping my security cameras on. Now, as I sip my evening coffee, I glance at my phone, watching the live feed. Karen's house is across the street, her pristine garden and aggressively perfect hedges bathed in porch light. Her car sits in the driveway, untouched. But something tells me she's not inside. I don't know how far she's willing to go, but I have a feeling I'm about to find out. The next morning, I step outside and almost trip over a crumpled letter on my doorstep. The HOA again. I don't even need to open it to know who sent it. I unfold the paper, skimming past the fake pleasantries straight to the threat beneath. "Your windmill remains an eyesore and a disruption to the neighborhood. If you do not remove it immediately, the HOA will be forced to take further action." Karen's signature is scrawled at the bottom like a royal decree. I exhale, my grip tightening. She's getting desperate. But the windmill isn't going anywhere. As I head to my backyard, a sinking feeling settles in my gut. I already know what I'll find before I even reach the sprinklers. Another sabotage. 2 of the underground pipes have been dug up, the tubing slashed beyond repair. Mud is smeared across the once pristine grass. It's deliberate, calculated. Someone wants me to know they were here. Karen. I don't have proof, but I know. I can feel it in the smug way she watches me from across the street, standing on her porch with a steaming mug of coffee like she's admiring her kingdom. "Having plumbing issues, Marcus?" she calls out sweetly. I clench my jaw, refusing to give her the reaction she wants. "Nothing I can't fix," I reply evenly. She smiles, but it's not friendly. "You know, the HOA has a list of approved landscapers. Maybe if you'd consulted us first, you wouldn't be dealing with these problems." Her tone is layered with something unspoken. A warning? A threat? I don't bother responding. Instead, I kneel, inspecting the damage. The cuts are clean, precise. A blade, not an accident. That night, I set my security feed to motion alerts, adjusting the sensitivity. If someone sets foot on my property again, I'll know. Hours pass. Midnight rolls around. The neighborhood is still silent. But then, movement. My phone screen flickers to life. a grainy figure appearing at the edge of my yard. I squint. They're crouched low, moving cautiously, their hands buried in the soil, digging. The realization slams into me. They're back. And this time I'll catch them in the act. I don't hesitate. Heart pounding. I grab my phone and zoom in on the figure crouched by my sprinklers. The grainy night vision image sharpens just enough for me to catch a familiar silhouette. The stiff posture, the short, bobbed hair. Karen. I knew it. She's digging up my sprinkler system with her bare hands, yanking at the pipes like she's trying to rip them out by the roots. A silver tool flashes in the moonlight, wire cutters. I storm outside, my steps heavy against the grass. Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing? Karen jerks up, eyes wide, caught red-handed. But instead of guilt, her face twists into something colder, entitled, annoyed, as if I'm the one trespassing on her property. Marcus, she says, straightening up and smoothing invisible wrinkles from her designer cardigan. You startled me. I gesture at the mess she's made. Startled you? You're in my yard, Karen, destroying my property again. She sighs, feigning patience. Your property is violating community standards. That windmill, the excessive landscaping, it's all ruining the neighborhood's character. I tried handling this through official channels, but you've left me no choice. My blood runs hot. No choice? So you thought sneaking onto my property and tearing up my sprinklers was your right? She tilts her chin up, eyes narrowing. I am the HOA president, Marcus. It's my job to enforce regulations. If you refuse to comply, then someone has to step in. She says it with such casual arrogance, like she's justified in breaking the law, like I should be grateful she's even explaining herself. I clench my fists. That's not how this works, Karen. You don't get to decide what's allowed just because you don't like seeing a black man improve his property. Her nostrils flare. Oh, don't pull the race card, she snaps. This has nothing to do with that. Of course, that's what they always say. Really? I fold my arms. Because I checked. My windmill is fully compliant with zoning laws. My sprinklers? Standard installation. The only difference between me and the rest of the homeowners here is that I don't look like you. Karen's lips purse, but she doesn't deny it. Instead, she shifts tactics. If you want to play the victim, fine. But you should know. I already reported your violations to the city. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a visit from code enforcement soon. A chill creeps down my spine. She's doubling down, escalating. You mean you lied to the city? I correct. She smirks. All I did was raise concerns about an unapproved structure and water usage violations. She shrugs. What they do with that information is up to them. I grit my teeth. She's trying to weaponize bureaucracy against me, using red tape as a cudgel. And I have no doubt some city official, eager to keep the right kind of people happy, will jump at the chance to make my life harder. But I'm not backing down. I step closer. You know what's funny, Karen? I installed security cameras last week. That smirk falters. My phone screen glows as I pull up the footage. I hit play, and the night vision video of Karen kneeling in my yard, hacking at my sprinkler system, fills the screen. Her face drains of color. That's trespassing, I say. That's vandalism. And in this state, that's a crime. She straightens, masking her fear with outrage. You have no right to film me. Oh, but I do, I counter smoothly. Private property. My land, my rules. And since you love reporting things, I think it's my turn to make a call. Karen's mouth opens, then closes. She knows she's trapped. But instead of backing down, she glares. You think anyone's going to care? She hisses. I have connections. You're just. She stops herself, but we both know what she was about to say. I step back and dial 911. Her eyes widen. Yeah, I'd like to report a trespasser and property damage. I say, my voice steady. I have video evidence. Karen stumbles back, panic flashing across her face. Marcus, don't be ridiculous. But the sirens in the distance tell me it's already too late. The blue and red lights cut through the night as the police cruiser pulls up to my driveway. Karen stands stiff beside me, arms crossed, her face tight with barely concealed irritation. She hasn't said a word since I made the call, but her eyes burn with something dangerous. Entitlement. She still thinks she's going to win. Officer Daniels, a broad-shouldered man with a calm but authoritative presence, steps out of the car. His partner, a younger officer with sharp eyes, follows. Daniels recognizes me immediately. "Marcus," he greets, nodding. "Got a report of trespassing and property damage?" I gesture toward Karen, who finally finds her voice. "Officer, this is ridiculous," she snaps. "I'm the president of the HOA. I was simply investigating a violation of community standards." Daniels raises an eyebrow. "Investigating by tearing up his sprinkler system in the middle of the night?" Karen scoffs. "I was inspecting damage he caused with his excessive water usage. This entire situation is being blown out of proportion." She turns to me with a smirk, voice dripping with condescension. "You're new to this neighborhood, Marcus. You don't understand how things work here. The HOA has authority over these matters." Authority. That's what she thinks this is about. That I should fall in line because she says so. I hold up my phone, the screen still showing the security footage. "And does your authority include trespassing and vandalism? Because I've got you on camera, Karen." The shift in her expression is immediate. The smugness vanishes, replaced by something colder, calculating. But she recovers quickly. "That video proves nothing," she says smoothly. "It's dark. It's grainy. Anyone could have tampered with it." Daniel steps forward. "Let's see it." I press play. The night vision footage rolls. Clear as day, Karen, crouched over my yard, tearing up my sprinklers with wire cutters. The officers watch in silence as she rips through the tubing, her face illuminated just enough to remove any doubt. Karen stiffens. "This is an invasion of privacy," she barks. "He had no right to film me." Daniels barely reacts. "On his own property?" Actually, he does. He turns to his partner. "What do you think?" The younger officer shakes his head. "That's pretty clear-cut vandalism." Karen's face twists in fury. "I am the HOA president. I have every right to enforce regulations. If anything, he should be fined for violating property codes." Daniel's voice hardens. "The HOA doesn't override the law, ma'am. And right now, you're looking at trespassing and destruction of property. We could take you in for that." Karen's eyes dart between the officers. Then to me. She's calculating, searching for an angle and escape. "This is outrageous," she hisses. "You're taking his side?" Daniels folds his arms. "I'm taking the law's side." Karen's hands tremble. Whether from anger or panic, I can't tell. But she still isn't ready to back down. "I have connections," she spits. "I'll have your job for this." Daniels exhales, unimpressed. "Go ahead and make your calls. But first, you're going to step away from this property, and if Marcus wants to press charges, you're looking at a court date." Karen's confidence wavers. She looks at me, her eyes burning with resentment. "You're making a big mistake," she seethes. "This isn't over." I take a step closer, lowering my voice so only she can hear. "No, Karen, you made the mistake." She glares at me, jaw tight, but says nothing. Daniels gestures toward the sidewalk. "Ma'am, I suggest you leave before we add trespassing charges to the report." For a moment, Karen doesn't move. Then, with a sharp breath, she turns on her heel and marches back to her house. But I don't miss the way her hands clench at her sides, the pure hatred simmering beneath her perfectly curated exterior. She thought she could bully me into submission. She thought her position, her connections, would protect her. But she was wrong, and she's finally starting to realize it. The next morning, I wake to an email notification that nearly makes me laugh out loud. It's from the HOA, or rather, from Karen. "Notice of community code violation. Final warning." She's doubling down. Even after getting caught on camera, even after the police were called, she's still trying to play her little power games. I scroll down and read her latest accusation. "Your property remains non-compliant with HOA aesthetic standards. Failure to remove the windmill and restore landscaping to approved conditions will result in a $5,000 fine. Continued refusal may lead to legal action. Unbelievable. But if Karen wants to escalate, fine. Two can play that game. The exposure. By noon, I've compiled everything, the security footage, the police report from last night, and copies of the HOA bylaws that prove my windmill is fully compliant. Then I make a few calls. The first goes to the city's zoning board. The second, to a local journalist who's been itching to cover issues of HOA abuse. And the third, the HOA board members, Karen's own people. By evening, the fallout begins. The first crack in Karen's carefully curated world comes when an official city inspector arrives at her doorstep. I watch from my porch as a uniformed man, clipboard in hand, informs her that the zoning complaints she filed against me have been reviewed and found baseless. Karen's voice rises in frustration. "He's lying," she protests. "His property is a nuisance. It's bringing down property values." The inspector remains unmoved. "Your claims were investigated and found unsubstantiated. In fact," he flips a page, "there's now an active complaint against you for unauthorized damage to a neighbor's property." Karen's face turns red. "What? You're being reported for violating trespassing laws, HOA overreach, and property damage. We'll be conducting a full review of your actions as HOA president." Asterisk. She stammers, reaching for control. "This is a mistake. I was acting in the community's best interest." The inspector doesn't even flinch. "Destroying someone's property in the middle of the night?" He shakes his head. "That's not community service, ma'am. That's vandalism." The breaking point. Karen's desperation reaches a fever pitch when she calls for an emergency HOA board meeting that same evening. I attend, of course. The board sits at a long conference table in the clubhouse, a mix of older retirees and younger homeowners. Karen stands at the front, trying to rally them to her side. "Marcus is ruining our neighborhood," she insists. "He's ignoring regulations, violating our community standards, and now he's trying to frame me." A murmur runs through the room, but then I step forward. "Karen, why don't we let the footage speak for itself?" I hook my phone up to the clubhouse projector. The screen flickers, and then there she is, Karen, hunched over in my yard, wire cutters in hand, ripping out my sprinkler system. The entire board watches in stunned silence as she commits the crime, clear as day. Karen turns ghostly pale. This is doctored," she shrieks. "This is illegal. But then a voice cuts through the tension. "Karen, stop." A woman at the end of the table stands up, Barbara, one of the longest-serving board members. "You were caught on camera. Lying won't save you now." Another board member, an older man named Phil, crosses his arms. "This isn't the first complaint we've had about you, Karen. Harassing homeowners, abusing your position. Now this." Karen's hands shake. "You can't do this to me. I built this HOA. I keep this community running." Barbara doesn't flinch. "Effective immediately, you are removed from your position as HOA president." Karen's mouth opens, closes. You can't." And, Barbara continues, "We will be cooperating with the police regarding the property damage charges. You may want to get a lawyer." Karen's entire world collapses in an instant. She turns on me, eyes burning with pure, unfiltered hatred. "You did this," she snarls. "You ruined me." I fold my arms. "No, Karen. You did that to yourself." The final blow. The cherry on top comes the next morning when the local news station airs the footage. The headline flashes across the screen. HOA president caught vandalizing homeowner's property. Resigns in disgrace. Karen's reputation is finished. Her so-called connections don't save her. In fact, they distance themselves as soon as the scandal breaks. By the end of the week, I hear she's selling her house, moving away, running from the mess she created. And me? I step onto my porch, taking in the quiet, peaceful view of my windmill spinning steadily in the breeze. Karen tried to control me, to bully me, to erase me, but in the end, all she did was destroy herself. Karen doesn't show her face for days. Her once pristine yard, the pride of the HOA, now sits neglected, grass untrimmed, flower beds wilting. A for sale sign stands on her lawn, its presence louder than any words she could say. But the real reckoning comes when the police officially file charges. I get the call from Officer Daniels. Marcus, just wanted to update you. The city prosecutor is moving forward with charges for trespassing and property damage. I exhale slowly, letting the weight of it settle. So it's official? It's official. The neighborhood reacts. Word spreads like wildfire. Neighbors who once looked the other way now whisper on sidewalks, watching Karen's downfall unfold in real time. People who never spoke to me suddenly wave as I walk by, their smiles laced with something between guilt and relief. At the grocery store, Mrs. Jenkins, an older woman who's lived here for decades, stops me by the produce section. I just wanted to say, I didn't realize how bad things had gotten, she murmurs. I should have spoken up sooner. I nod, letting her words hang between us. It's never too late to do the right thing. And it's true, because slowly the neighborhood begins to change. At the next HOA meeting, now without Karen's iron grip, residents vote to revise outdated rules, ensuring no future president can weaponize them like she did. The vote is nearly unanimous. Even Phil, one of Karen's old supporters, pulls me aside afterward. You fought back, didn't let her push you around, he admits. I respect that. I never needed his respect. But hearing it confirms something I already knew. I belong here. Karen's final fall. The last time I see Karen, she's stuffing suitcases into the trunk of her car. Her face is tight, her eyes hollow. She doesn't look like the same woman who once stood on my lawn, smug and certain of her power. For a brief moment, I wonder if she'll say something. A final insult, a desperate plea. But she doesn't. She just slams the trunk shut and drives away. No goodbyes. No fanfare. Just gone. A new beginning. The evening breeze carries the rhythmic hum of my windmill, steady and unbothered. I sit on my porch, watching it spin against the backdrop of a golden sunset.